Hey guys, we're going to keep going here, looking at multi-step inequalities. Sorry, I forgot to put this part on the slide. This is 3.4, by the way, for those of you that are keeping your notebooks organized. It says here, you solve these as if they were an equation, except for one thing. Be careful of the negatives. All right, and we already talked about that in the last section. So let's just see how this plays out. All right, so here I got a few problems. I'm just going to walk through these with you. This first one, so I'm solving here for t, so I would subtract 9 from both sides. And I would have 4t is greater than 12. Divide both sides by 4. And there are no negatives on this one, so it would just be t is greater than 3. And then I'm not going to graph, but you're probably going to be asked to graph your solutions, so make sure that you are cool with that. Here, this one right here, I got some distributive property going on, so I have 3 times t, so this is exactly what I would do if this were an equation. All right, nothing at this point is any different. So here I would combine these like terms. That would give me negative t plus 3 is greater than or equal to negative 5. I would subtract 3 from both sides, and I would have negative t is greater than or equal to negative 8. And then at this point I have this negative t, so I put the negative 1 in front of it. Just helps me remember things. Remember that there is a coefficient there. So the negative 1's simplify. The t comes down. Now I'm dividing both sides by a negative. So at this point it's a little bit different than equations in the sense that I have to switch this sign. So instead of it being greater than or equal to, it is now less than or equal to positive 8. And just like when we're working with equations, you could take any of these particular values and substitute them back in. That's not necessarily a bad strategy. If that's something you're interested in doing just to check your work, that's a good idea. All right, this one right here, I have variables on both sides of the inequality. And I would treat it just like it's an equation. So here I would add 1. And I would have 3n is greater than 9. Divide by 3. And n is greater than 3. All right, so everything that you're doing on these is exactly the same as what you would do with an equation. You just have to be careful if you're multiplying or dividing by negatives. That means that you're going to switch your sign. All right, so there are some instances where you get some special cases. And in equations, the special cases, if you recall, were an identity equation, which means all solutions or all real numbers will be a solution. And then you also have the no solution special cases. That does come up in inequality, so I want to have a couple problems here for you to see with that. Distribute the 2. Everything else comes down, so I get 10 minus 8a is greater than or equal to. And you can see here that these are exactly the same value. Now you could go through and try to get the same thing, and you end up getting 10 is greater than or equal to 10, which is a true statement. Anytime this kind of thing happens, this means all real numbers, just like it did with equations. All right, it's no different. Let's take a look at this one. So here I would combine my like terms. I have 6m minus 5 is greater than. Here I'd have 6m plus 7. Subtract my 6m's from both sides. So negative 5 is greater than 7, which is not a true statement. And when that happens, just like when it was a equation, if it's not a true statement, that means that there is no solution. Okay, so if it comes out to be an untrue statement, that's no solution. If it comes out to be numbers, that is always a true statement, then that's all real numbers. All right, so those may pop up. Another kind of problem here is a word problem. It says in a community garden, you want to fence in a vegetable garden that is adjacent to your friend's garden. You have at most 42 feet of fence. What are the possible lengths of your garden? So here is why this is an inequality instead of an equation. It says, what are the possible lengths? As in, there's more than one length. You don't have to use the full amount of the 42 feet of fence. You may only use 40 or 30 or something like that. That's why this is an inequality. An inequality gives you a set of numbers. So it's saying, what are the set lengths that you could have for your garden? So let's go to this next slide. I gave myself a little bit more room. I want to know, what is this set length? Well, I'm looking at this particular shape right here, which is a rectangle. And so I am looking at the perimeter of that, where I have a width, and then I have the, well, I think the way that they have it is, this is your width, and I'll just scratch that out, and this is the length. Okay, so what is the possible lengths? Well, to find the perimeter of any given figure, you would say 2 times the width, because I have this width and this width, plus 2 times the length, because I have this length and I have this length, and that's going to be the amount of fence that's needed. I need that value to be at most 42 feet. So be careful with that at most, because that means less than or equal to, and that confuses students a lot. So at most, that could be 42 feet, which means the value of 2 times the width plus 2 times the length must be less than or equal to 42. It cannot go over that number. Now from here, I know one of these values. I know that the width is 12 feet, so I could go ahead and substitute that in, and I'd have 2 times 12 plus 2L is less than or equal to 42. The question asks, what are the lengths? Well, here is my inequality that's set up. So I go through, I have 2 times 12 is 24. And then I would subtract 24 from both sides. And I get 2L is less than or equal to, let's see here, I believe that would be 16. No, that's not even close. 18. Divide both sides by 2. And the length has to be less than or equal to 9. So that is the answer to this. What is the possible length? It could be up to 9, but any value lower than that. You could have lengths that are 8, 7, 7.5, whatever you want. But this is a set of numbers, and again, it was asking for the possible lengths. That's why it has to be an inequality. So I believe that that is it for today. So I will see you in class. Thank you.